Is it a photo or is it real?
You look very glam, Jamie.
Hey, Jamie.
I think it's a photo
It is.
because she's not moving.
She's very still.
Yeah,
Definitely a photo.
it's a good photo.
It is a good photo.
I wish I had a photo that made me look that good.
Jamie, are you there?
I'm not seeing Jamie.
I see her face in a photo.
Yeah, she's got a photo, and it said connecting to audio, so she's trying.
I I had a meeting with her yesterday and I saw the same face, so I bet she'll figure it out.
Okay.
You ready, Risa?
Sorta. I'm waiting to hear Miha bark to say, let me in. That was Jamie's laugh.
That's a glam.
Don't let Miha in the meeting, Risa. Miha can't come into the meeting. Just kidding. Miha's invited.
Actually, she has attended the Conservation Commission meeting when she was 8 weeks old. James was there.
That makes sense. She probably knows more
Yeah.
about conservation than 90% of the people on this planet.
Of course, she lives at Risa's.
Right.
I don't think that's what she was implying, but it's hard to say. Since I can't see the white of your eyes, I don't know that I really trust anything that you say.
Who are you talking to?
You.
Oh, you can't see. My picture, I think the white of my eyes is showing in my picture. Pretty sure.
Yeah, but it's fake. It's
That's
not
a
live.
fake picture?
No, it's a still picture.
Oh, there you go.
All right. Hey, Jamie, how you doing? This is James.
Hey.
Hey, we got a quorum, so we can start our meeting now.
Oh, it's James. Okay, let's start.
Yeah, let's do it.
And Marnie.
And Marnie's here too?
Yeah. And Elizabeth is hiding behind the City of Ashland sign.
I don't see Marnie yet.
Yeah, I see her.
I guess she's hiding. Oh, there's Marnie. Hi.
Hi.
And we've got Jamie. Yep. Okay, so my screen was just
Rebecca joining us?
hiding you guys.
She's here.
Oh.
All right. Well, this meeting has been called to order, and the first thing we're going to do is we're going to do a little Zoom and meeting protocol review. Is that in your wheelhouse there, Stu?
I can take a stab at it, but
or I can go through it. I mean, I've got it in front of me too. Whatever you want.
Why don't you do it?
All right. Let me scroll down here. So basically, you guys all got the message that was talking about the electronic protocols, meeting protocols during COVID. And basically, obviously, we're going to be using Zoom. And so to go over kind of the steps of what we're doing right now and what some of the protocol are is that obviously you have to log in beforehand and password, and you were all completely able to do that. The participation kind of part is that the moderator, who is Elizabeth, is that right, Elizabeth? You?
I have actually passed it on to Stu, so he'll be doing that, but I can take it back if needed.
Okay, great. Okay, so basically I'm the moderator because I'm the chair, and then the host will be Stu today, and Stu will help to keep track of people interested in speaking and so forth. But my job is to call on people when you raise your hand or you want to say something. You know, we'll follow the protocol we do in a live meeting. And in order to make this run more smoothly, because we're in this kind of electronic environment, when one of us is finished speaking, then you'll be put back onto mute. And Stu, that would be your job to avoid any interruptions and background noise. And interruptions that cause the video and audio displays can, affect other participants. So basically that's what Stu's job is. So obviously we're here on video when we can be, and we're encouraged to do that so people can see each other and see that we're actually real. And Jamie, I don't see you on the picture. Are you unable to do your video?
I'm currently without Wi-Fi at my house,
Okay.
and I'm in transit at the moment, so I don't know that that would be very safe for me.
Okay, I got you there. All right.
As much as I want to look at all you.
Yeah, that's cool. Well, we're all here in full Technicolor. So anybody that wants to speak should physically raise your hand so you can be seen. If I don't see you, then Stu, if you see someone, you can remind me that there's something happening in the background I didn't see. I might be looking at the agenda or something. If there's is a presentation, then we should hold our questions and comments to the end to avoid interruptions in that presentation. And all conversation must happen through video and audio format. We can't use chat in the background in order to comply to public meetings law. So the host can use the chat function though to share document links and so forth. So that would be Stu's bailiwick at this point. Roll call voting or physical hand raising will be sent, it'll be used in favor of those those in favor and those opposed. So we'll just ask, and we'll ask for a question be asked, are you in favor or opposed? And then you can put your hand up or not. Those who abstain from voting will be called upon to state their reasons. So be prepared for that. The general meeting reminders, meeting agendas will be sent out by the staff a week before the meeting, the scheduled meeting. And that's electronic. I made the mistake of printing off what Elizabeth sent a while back, and then it's changed since then. So just make sure that you have your electronic form with the link to it from Elizabeth's email. And something very new is that any public forum testimony is to be submitted in writing by members of the public by 10 a.m. of the day before the scheduled meeting. And it'll be listed on the agenda, which it is. Louise put one in. She entered one of hers in. So a couple more things. Because of the new public forum format, adhering to the noticed meeting agenda is important to ensure that we all and the public are up to date on what will occur at the meeting. And obviously there's going to be a little bit of learning curve for those who didn't show up tonight. Perhaps they're just not able to get in for technical reasons, but I think we just need to be, we need to be patient and think about how we can help those folks to learn the electronic side of things. I would be happy to do that, Stu. If anybody wants to take a little test ride, I've got Zoom and I can take them through it. So keep that in mind if anybody does contact you with technical issues. Okay, that is it as far as the protocol. Elizabeth and Stu, do you have any additional observations or thoughts on this?
I think we'll have Elizabeth do the roll call if we have any votes. And Jamie, I'll leave you unmuted since I can't have you raise your hand. Just say that you're raising your hand, I guess. Other than that, I'll try to keep after the muting and unmuting. Okay.
And is this being recorded? I can't see quite around to know.
Yes, I believe it got started right at 6.
Okay, great. Is that recording going to be made public, or is it just for notes purposes?
Elizabeth?
I'm going to try and make it public, but it's a new thing, so we will see.
Okay, yeah, so Zoom has a couple of different ways of storing information.
And I'll be looking into that. But
okay, great. All right, very good. All right, so let's go up to the consent agenda. We're looking back at the February 26, 2020 meeting notes. I know I wasn't there. I don't think Risa was there, and maybe a couple other people were missing. So those of you who were there, we're going to have you look at the notes and make any comments to change those minutes, to recommend changes.
Brian had a question.
Well, I read the minutes and I moved that we approve them.
I second that.
James, you need to unmute yourself.
Did you say James or Jamie?
James. James.
Stu, I think you can do it too.
I'm not seeing, it says I can ask him to, but I can't actually do it.
James, unmute yourself.
Oh, goodness.
I don't know how that muted automatically, but sorry about that.
Well, I did that because someone else was talking, but apparently I can't actually unmute you. I can only ask you to unmute you.
Okay. All right. Sorry about that. So we had a first and a second, and obviously we probably won't have any comments, so let's take a vote. All of those in favor? All those opposed? All those in abstention? That would be you, Risa, and Becky. So you have to unmute and explain why you're abstaining.
I put my hand up.
Oh, okay. I didn't see it, Becca. How about you, Risa?
I was not present at the meeting, so I don't feel that I should vote.
Okay. All right. Good enough. Thank you. Just wanted to follow that
real
new.
quick, Jamie,
Yes.
are you a yes or no? Just to get.
I'm approve, yes.
Okay.
Thanks, Jamie. I thought I saw your hand go up, but I guess I didn't. All right. We're going to go
Also,
on to
one
go
brief
ahead,
little
Stu.
note.
Yeah.
I think if we do votes, I think we have to call for abstentions first, and then in favor, then opposed.
Okay. So abstentions first.
But I don't think it's fine for the minutes, I think.
Okay. All right. Good enough. I'll make note of that. All right. Here we are with announcements. We have a decision to be made on the new chair and vice chair nominations. Since we're really short on people, I don't know what to do at this point. Did we just move forward anyway and vote and move this ball into the next court, or what?
Well, you have a quorum.
Okay. So I'd like to know if there are any people, raise your hand, who would like to run as chair or vice chair.
I'm handless, but I would like to nominate Rebecca Walker for chair and president, actually. Oh.
And president. Cool. Rebecca, you have a big job on your hands. Are you interested in that? You'll have to unmute. There you go.
Yeah, yes, yeah, I am.
Okay, great. Thank you. Thank you, Becca. Is there anybody interested in running as the co-chair or would like to nominate somebody as co-chair? I would like to nominate Brian as co-chair. Brian,
Again.
would you be interested in that?
Ask
Yes,
Jamie.
I'd be willing to do
Jamie can do it.
it. If people would like
I'm
James,
waiting my turn, Risa.
What?
Okay,
I'm just waiting my
let's do Risa, then Brian, then Jamie.
I'm willing to be vice chair with Rebecca.
Okay, so we've got Risa and Brian, and it sounds like Jamie has decided she would like to hold off at least another year. Is that correct, Jamie? Jamie, you may be muted.
no, I just fumbled my phone. No, I don't. No, I was gonna nominate Risa for vice chair, but Risa did a good job of nominating herself, as she should.
Okay, great. So we've got one person running as chair and two people who have been nominated for vice chair. So what we need to do now is, I think because it's a nomination, help me out here with the rules, but we have an opportunity to have both people speak and say what they would like, why they would like to be co-chair, and then we will vote to elect both the chair and the vice chair. So, Brian, you were nominated first. Why don't I let you go first?
I would be willing to do it if there were no other takers, but if Risa would really like to do it, I would enthusiastically endorse her.
Okay, it sounds like, Risa, you don't even need to speak unless you've changed your mind. But you do have to speak unmuted.
I am unmuted thanks to Stu's quick handiwork. I guess what I would say is during this whole COVID thing, Rebecca and I have been meeting and working on things, and I would feel really comfortable and even excited to team up with her and lead our Conservation and Climate Outreach Commission forward.
Okay, thanks, Risa. So without further ado, we'll call for a vote for those who are in favor of Becca as being our new chair.
James?
Yes.
So since it's just two people, can I get a motion and then we'll vote on the motion?
Yes, why don't you go ahead with a motion?
She can.
No, someone on the commission.
Oh, I thought that was Jamie, sorry. Okay.
No.
Can we have a motion for that the chair and vice chair in this case to be nominated and voted on? Yes, Brian.
I would make a move for Becca to be the chair of what used to be called the Conservation Commission. I can't remember our formal name now, with Risa being the vice chair for the upcoming term.
Thank you, Brian. Do we have a second on that?
Handless Jamie seconds that.
Jamie did? Okay, and so did Marnie, but I guess Jamie was first. So we now have a vote to be had. So all those in favor of Becca as chair and Risa as vice chair, raise your hand. Oh, wait, any abstentions? I saw all hands go up, so, all right. All those in favor, we have a complete agreement that Becca will be our new chair and that Risa will be our new vice chair. Congratulations, welcome to the new year, fiscal year. All right, moving on. Welcome back check-in. We have a total of, let's see, 610. Yeah, let's spend about 10 minutes, 5 minutes, welcome back check-in. Since I'm seeing Brian from my left to right, how about Brian, if you do a 1 minute check-in? But you'll have to unmute, there you go.
I am in Missoula right now working this week. It's actually convenient that I can do a Zoom meeting because I wouldn't be able to do an in-person meeting. I and my family are surviving COVID. It's an interesting time. I'm getting very anxious about the upcoming election, especially as it pertains to the future of a lot of things. And I'm looking forward to getting back to doing things on the Conservation Commission. And I'm hoping that later in the meeting, we can set something up with the other group that's the advisory commission to do something joint.
Well, I'm glad you guys are all safe and feeling healthy. That's awesome. And is your whole family in Missoula?
No, my wife Paula's with me and my son lives here.
Oh, nice. Okay.
Our daughter Hannah's still working hard on the pipeline stuff with road climate.
Yeah. Well, I know you as a doctor are on the front line. Thank you.
Thanks.
All right, Risa, why don't you go ahead and check in?
Yeah, it's hard to believe that so much time has passed since this group has been together. It's kind of boggles the brain, but COVID has definitely had its effect on time. I feel like I'm been doing really well, and I feel so fortunate to be stuck in Ashland. And I was lucky. The reason I missed the last commission meeting is that I went to see my family in Texas, and I'm so glad I did, because I don't know when that will happen again. It definitely gives pause when you have an 88-year-old father and a 82-year-old stepmother and stuff like that. So, that's the unknown that most of us are wrestling with. One of my greatest triumphs is figuring out how to swim during this time, and I feel like I have figured it out. That's a different conversation for a different time, but it's been kind of hilarious. But I still get to swim. So, and just working on stuff with Rebecca, with Rogue to Go, with Southern Oregon Food Solutions, and lots of time outside pulling weeds and planting and stuff like that.
Thanks, Risa. I'm really glad that Rogue to Go is still happening or started up again. I've been using my container for that. So I really appreciate the hard work that you guys put in to make that happen. All right, Becca, your turn to check in.
First of all, just like to say I'm really excited to have been nominated and voted in as chair. So thank you, everyone. And working with Risa, I've really enjoyed socially distanced conversations outdoors with Risa during this time, where we've looked at the impact of COVID on the link it has to sustainability and climate change, and seen that the world can change, something that the sustainability and climate change agenda has been struggling with for decades in terms of behavior change and technology change. And suddenly a pandemic hits, and individual level change, community level change, business change, organization change, it can happen, which actually gives me hope for the future in terms of what we can do. So that's exciting. On a personal level, yeah, if you told me when I moved to the other side of the world back in November that this would be my experience, I could not even have wrapped my head around it and comprehended that. So it's been, yeah, having gone through a change in November, that was isolation in a way, when you move somewhere on your own to a new country, and then to go through that sort of fundamental change again, it really does sort of stretch your boundaries and make you think in terms of how you're living, why you're living, and what you're here for. So it's been a really interesting journey. In terms of saying it's an interesting journey, trying to look at the positives here rather than just have it happen to me. Obviously trying to make the most of what at times has been a really challenging situation. And I'm really glad we're all back together.
Well, I'm glad you're here too. And I appreciate both of you. I've heard through the, obviously you're going to do a report that you guys got together. Risa just mentioned it. That's great. Really appreciate your staying in communication with each other and working through some of the Conservation and Climate Outreach Commission agenda activities and subcommittee stuff. So Stu, I'm going to call upon you, even though you're not a commissioner, because I'd love to hear from you about how things have been going for you, and maybe a little bit about how the city's been operating.
Yeah, well, I can just give you the personal update because I get the whole staff thing.
Okay.
I'm actually really liking working from home. It's been on my to-do list for a couple of years now. So we're embracing it. My kid's 5 and we live on a pretty awesome farm. So can't complain. I do wish I was in the city every once and again, but you know, I keep enough tabs through 6 hours of Zooms every day. So it's good. Things are good. I can't complain, really.
All right. Well, and your family's healthy?
Yes, we're good.
Okay,
Thank you.
awesome. Good to hear. Hey, Marnie. Long time no see. What's up? You're muted. Oh, there you
Okay. Yeah.
Okay.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, it's amazing, kind of, as Rebecca was saying, to even wrap our minds around the changes that have happened so fast. I no longer work for the GS Institute, so that's a big change. I've been really focusing on my kid's health, and he just had a big surgery last week. So we are hunkered at home and actually feel pretty lucky with the way that things have gone as far as the time that we've had to prepare for that, and the low stress from him not being in school at the end. And, you know, we've just been hiking and really trying to stay healthy. So we were up in Portland a lot for medical stuff, and I guess I just feel lucky to have the time to do that. I can't imagine having done that while working full time and all of that. So it's interesting, you know, there's kind of pluses and minuses and just how things have all worked out. I can't imagine a better experience if we have to go through this. So we're good, we're healthy, and he's getting better, and we're just motoring ahead. But I'm feeling actually a need for this meeting and for getting back into what we were doing. It just kind of, everything shut down so fast and so unexpectedly. And I feel completely disconnected from the community and from my previous life. So just kind of getting back into what's important to me and figuring out what I'm going to do next. So I'm kind of excited to move into that phase.
Sweet. And your family is great around COVID, your extended family and all that? I know that some of them live in the Bay Area.
Yeah, I also have 2 sets of elderly parents that they're kind of terrified, and they stay home. They don't go anywhere. And I worry about, you know, what that does to their mental health. Luckily, they're really good at getting outdoors. So good. We have that.
All right. Thanks, Marie.
I guess that makes me very happy to live where we live and for them to live where they live. It's just, I can't imagine living in a big city like this.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Thanks, Marnie. Hey, Elizabeth, are you there still?
Yes, I am here.
I would love to hear from you as well.
Big kind of changes, just having to work from home and then kind of coming back into the office. But I would say everything is getting slightly better. We'll see how it goes. I know we're not near the end of it yet, but it is kind of some hope on the horizon, like some people said. There's little things that we can look forward to. So yeah.
And everybody's healthy in your family and extended family?
Yes, my family is very fortunate to live in an even smaller area, so they don't even have any cases yet, which is good.
Sweet. That's good to hear. Thanks for checking in. Hey, Jamie, are you there still?
I sure am.
Awesome.
I'm here.
All right.
I'm just frozen. Would someone turn it up to like 103? I know, Stu. I used that joke
It's about
earlier.
103 here.
That's the second time I used that joke, huh, Stu? Anyway, I used that joke actually yesterday when I was at the, what was that? Jackson County Recycling Partnership meeting. I am doing okay. I feel like, you know, that old saying, with great change comes great opportunity, very much applies to me and hopefully to all of you in regards to what's going on with COVID and distancing. Been doing the good kind of distancing that isn't COVID related. So anyway, I, like Stu, I've always, I've had the latitude to work from home. I just always, since COVID, I just now don't really feel guilty about it. So I don't know that I ever should have felt guilty about it, but I'm a little bit in that position of yeah, I could be actually more productive at home. So I feel good about that. And with Recology, you know, there's some challenges in that, you know, outreach is a huge part of how we meet our Department of Environmental Quality requirements. So we've had to kind of, we're kind of understanding now, we have direction from the DEQ as to how we go about doing outreach in this brave new world that we're in. And that's been, you know, entailing virtual presentations. And so I did my first recycling presentation last night, actually. It was a lecture through the co-op. They were going to have me in person at the co-op in their community classroom, but instead I said I would. I was really reluctant to say yes to this, but I said, okay, I'll do it. And so I did it in my front yard, and it was hilarious and a lot of fun, a lot more fun than I expected. And now that this has gone well beyond a minute, I'm going to say I'm doing great and I'm happy to be here. And I'm really stoked on Rebecca and Risa taking on the helm. I think those two, oh man, watch out. We're going to be doing some big stuff, and I'm excited for that.
Thanks, Jamie. Glad to hear that you're doing well and you're getting some space. That sounds good. You know, I worked my entire last 10 years of my career, everything was virtual. And quite frankly, since September 28th of last year when I retired, I have not done one thing virtual. Well, you know, emails and whatnot, but I haven't been doing this kind of stuff, and I'm so like used to doing it, and it's so weird to be like backing off. Not weird. It's like I've been living in this world of doing a lot of stuff, a lot of physical stuff, and I'm really enjoying that life. And I'm remembering how much I was stuck to my computer in my previous life, and so I'm looking forward to more of the real world contact with people. But in COVID times, that's even more difficult. My big family lives down in the Bay Area and across the US, and I haven't seen them for a long time. So I kind of miss that too. So, and everybody in my family are, you know, all of my 11 brothers and sisters and their kids and their kids' kids and their kids' kids' kids are all in good shape. So far we feel really blessed. So that's my check-in, and I think we'll move now to public forum. We had one, unless Elizabeth, there was a second one. We had one from Louise Shelcott, who gave a link to a New York Times article.
So that was, yeah, that was kind of just a general sent to the commission. It wasn't specifically for this agenda. We didn't have any public input for this agenda.
Oh,
yeah.
Okay.
But thanks for bringing that up, because that was a good article to look at.
Yeah, it's very cool. I mean, it got me to thinking, I don't know if you guys read the article at all, but it was great. It was kind of an interactive thing where you had a little bit of text and then you had some things you could move through, and it showed what Manhattan would look like if it were carless in the future. And I think it was a good article, but it got me to thinking about downtown Ashland. And I mean, 10 years ago, I had this vision of wanting to close downtown Ashland in the summer on a weekend in order to have booths set up and, you know, all kinds of kind of things happening where restaurants could put their tables out, vendors could put their things out on the street or on the sidewalk, and it would like invite people from all around the town, I mean, all around the valley and elsewhere. In COVID times, the decision was made, let's put stuff outside because we can actually do it outside. And the plaza was closed. And now I've heard that the plaza is not going to be closed anymore because there were a couple of, maybe one or more of the merchants that thought that their businesses were going to be negatively impacted. And I'm kind of down about that because I thought, man, this is great. This is going to happen. We're going to be able to maybe pull something off and demonstrate that something like this can happen. So from that article, I kind of started thinking about locally and how hard it is for me to see something that I see progressive not really happening. So that's my comment on that. Any other comments about that, or shall we move on? All right. So reports and presentations. Stu, we're going to use you for council update if you have something.
You know, I don't know that I can really speak for what's going on at the council level besides looking at the look ahead like you all can do. So since we're behind a little bit, maybe I'll just do my update. And
Okay.
I think it's good for everybody on a commission to have the look ahead bookmarked and to just check on it periodically, because it gets changed, I don't know, probably weekly. And it's probably the fastest way I know of to keep track of what's on council's radar. So I think I got an email just now from Steph that they had reshuffled the liaison assignments last night, and she wasn't sure if she should be here, but I sent her the Zoom link. So she may show up here before the meeting's over. We'll see. But if it's okay with you folks, I can just go ahead and tell you about my update.
Absolutely, Stu, thanks.
Okay. So Elizabeth kindly typed up my notes. These are just a few things that have already happened. You can click on the agenda link if you want to look at the document I have in front of me. But just a couple of points of interest. The Rogue to Go program, you know, I've been continuing to shepherd that pilot project with Risa and Roxanne still. And that grant was actually supposed to have ended in June, but because of COVID, we opted to extend it out till the end of the year, just to get a little extra data. In short, the program's still going. The pilot's looking to expand. If you know of restaurants who may want to participate, please send them to me or Risa. And we're looking for who may have an interest in driving that program over the long run. The Rogue Bike Share, unfortunately, Zagster, who was the provider for that, went bankrupt in March. So there was a number of different communities that were left with non-functioning bike shares. So that's the current status, is our bike share is not functioning. The bikes are locked and not available. We are looking for funding to get that back online. There's a few options, but unfortunately we lost about $25,000 on the contract when that company went bankrupt. Good news is I was hoping to get some proposals to expand our bike share in late 2020. Looks like that's going to be pushed out now to 2021 because of COVID. But nonetheless, we're still confident that the bike share is a good project, and we're looking to expand it in the not too distant future. There soon will be the Pioneer and Lithiaway parking lot electric vehicle chargers. There's currently 4 chargers there. Probably in about a month, we're going to close that down and install 10 fresh ones. So that whole parking lot will be converted to EV charging, which is great. We completed that fleet charging upgrade a couple months ago, which is excellent. We got 10 new chargers in at the service center to serve the city's, I think we have 10 now, electric passenger vehicles. So that's super good to see that project wrapped up. There were a few upgrades to the website back when I did my March update to council. I sent those links out at the time, could send them out again, but if you go to the Ashland/climate page, you can get to it all there. There's a lot more work to be done still, but I just got the news last week that I believe I'm going to have an AmeriCorps person helping me with outreach tasks later in the fall. So that's something to look forward to. And I hope that that will be a good resource to get our current outreach stuff out. We've been working with a few different organizations to do some advocacy at the state level to improve the building code. As you probably all know, that we are stuck with the state building code. There's very little we can do to mandate building above that code. So a variety of communities have come together to lobby Salem for more progressive residential code reform. So we're working on that. There's a really great organization called Zero, which is Zero Energy Ready Oregon. You can check out their website if you want to see the extent of that advocacy work. So the Ashland Electric Utility, hang on, Risa, for a sec, and then I'll catch you. Ashland Electric Utility is a clean fuel credit generator. We get this because of the public charging, but also because of all the people who register EVs within city limits. That, starting in 2019, became a fairly substantial revenue stream. We're still trying to turn the credits into dollars, but I'm counting on that money to fund essentially all the climate activities that I have planned in front of me. So there will come a time in the not too distant future when we have to submit a proposed budget to council on how to spend that money. And I will be suggesting we put it into electrification efforts, which will then create more clean fuel credits, which we can then put into more projects. But funding being what it is, there's always a danger some of it could be tapped elsewhere. So that's just something to keep in your minds. I also applied for some funding from Bonneville Environmental Foundation for $50,000 to help boost our electric vehicle incentives and also to create a new incentive for electric bikes. So that should be pretty cool. I feel pretty confident that we'll get that, but I don't know for sure. I think first or second week of August, we'll find out. You know, there's some other things, but I think for the sake of things that have happened, I'll just call it good for now. And if there's questions on other topics, we can take them as we go. Risa, you had a question.
I did. This group that meets, that have gotten together trying to impact the building codes in the state. I'm wondering if part of that conversation includes smaller footprint houses, but just because it requires, you know, so much less energy to heat it and cool it, and like I wonder if that is there, and also just the passive solar design homes.
Sure. I mean, that stuff is always in the conversation, I think. You know, Oregon typically adopts codes that are international codes that are then customized for the local level or for the state level. So, you know, typically everybody kind of goes with what that international baseline looks like. It's not to say there isn't other stuff going on. They are talking about smaller footprints. They're talking about higher efficiency. And of course, passive solar just makes good efficiency sense if you have the mindset to design in that way. So, you know, there's also the executive order looking at how do we get to zero energy homes, you know, and so that's, I think they're more focused on the destination versus the specific pathway. But those are all topics that I've heard about at one time or other. So you can imagine it's a fairly convoluted policy conversation at the state level. Brian, let me see here. You have to unmute yourself, buddy. I don't know why I can't do it.
Sue, did you say on at the charging area on Pioneer and Lithia, is it going from 4 to 10 or adding 10, going from 4 to 14?
From 4 to 10, but the old 4 are going to be replaced.
Okay, and will it still remain free?
So long as I can defend that policy decision, yes.
Okay.
Which is to say, so long as we're generating clean fuel credits, yeah, I think so.
Okay. And then I just wanted to remind all of you that you have about a week and a half to submit an application to run for city council.
Hey,
well, I guess that's the extent of my update, unless there's any more questions.
I would like my...
Oh, Jamie.
Jamie.
Hey, Stu, I was wondering, since the Rogue Bike Share, that whole thing, they went bankrupt, does that mean that people aren't able to rent those bikes anymore?
That's correct. They're just...
So they're just sitting there and people aren't able to.
Mm-hmm. That's correct.
Okay. Oh, how interesting. Okay. Interesting.
Yeah.
All right.
I've talked to a number of different vendors who are able to prop the system back up and run it the same way it was, but you know, I need $60,000 essentially is what it comes down to, of which there is not. So, you know, we may get some COVID relief funding. It's something I'm working on. It's kind of on my back burner at the moment, but I am hoping that the clean fuel credits, that revenue stream is substantial enough that we can use it to boost the bike share probably next year. Maybe this year. It just depends on how the credit transactions go and what the consensus is on how we're going to use them.
Mm-hmm.
Council's consensus. Yep.
I have the, you know, I feel weird that I feel weird, not weird that I don't know this because I haven't really been downtown that much. Does that mean that the bikes have all been collected and like they're being stored in a warehouse or somewhere they can't be vandalized or damaged?
They're still there. Zagster actually didn't own the bikes. They leased them from a third party. So the owner of the bikes is going to come through and collect them at some point.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, that's really interesting. Thanks for that.
Reese, yes.
You had mentioned, also just publicly, I just want to applaud your work, your efforts, your successes, you know, with utilizing clean fuels, you know, however it is that you did that. So it provided revenue for our city. And I heard that there was a counselor that actually wanted to take that revenue and put it in the general fund. And I'm wondering whether there's a way that our commission could help to support that those dollars remain feeding renewable conservation and sustainability. Because if there's a way that we could support that, please. That just seems like something that we could do.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's hard to know what the best pathway there is. I think Transportation Commission was going to make a memo to council about please reinvest this in clean transportation projects. I think there's a couple of different potential uses. You know, anything that offsets fossil fuel, of course, is a good use of these funds. But anything that offsets fossil fuel and creates more electricity sales is double good. And yeah, I don't know to what extent people are thinking that they would want to take it and use it, but the question was raised, are these restricted funds or are they not restricted funds? And at this moment, the state does not restrict the funds. That may change, and it's, I think, likely to change, but at the moment, it's free for whatever use the city council decides. But the good news is if we invest in electrification projects, that automatically benefits the general fund because of the electric tax. So it's not a question of which way to benefit the general fund. It's a question of we're going to do it short term or we're going to do it long term. Does that make sense? So I would say perhaps at a future meeting, you could discuss whether you want to make a memo such as that. Whether you have to or not, I don't know. It certainly doesn't hurt to have folks speak in support of the policies that help the climate plan at the actual meeting where the vote takes place.
Well, I guess my request would be to you to just let us know if there's something we can do to support that, to protect it. I just think about protecting it.
Sure. Well, I can make a note to try to send you the Transportation Commission memo if when it becomes put out there, and you can see if that's something you'd like to emulate. Oh, and it looks like Steph is going to join us here. Hello, Steph.
Hi.
Hey, Steph, welcome. We have Brian, myself, James, Risa, Beck, and Stu, Marnie, and Elizabeth and Jamie. And we're just in the agenda right now. at the point where we were just getting Stu's check-in for the staff update, and we could take a step back if you have information that you would like to share from a council update perspective. So welcome. But before you do, come on, if you do want to do that, we'd love to hear from you, like a 1-minute check-in on your journey between the last time we've met and now.
Well, let's see. My journey has been stressful lately. I've been trying to work with doing some stuff with recycling and looking at just visiting places and learning more about also what the possibility of composting is. So those have been things that, in terms of conservation efforts, I've been interested in. In terms of updates, I'm not sure I'm the liaison or not. I haven't been told, so that's why I didn't initially show up, because I didn't have a Zoom connection. So I came because obviously I'm interested in this commission, but I wasn't sure if it was Tanya's commission now or what the structure was after the mayor made an announcement that he was changing things. So anyway, in terms of council stuff, I was very pleased about being able to receive the money that will secure Stu's position, and I thought that was really, really an important thing. And you probably know the council is right now in a, I would say, a hard place. You know, relationships are hard right now. The transition and the political structure right now makes it more difficult to put forward comments or put forward actions, knowing that we have a lot of new changes coming, don't know who's going to be on the council or who the mayor will be for the following year, and what the budget situation will be like, and what those people that will be on the council then, what their priorities will be for the budget. So I've been trying to figure all that out. And I've also been working with a food bank board, and I'm on that board, and I'm also on the senior commission with Parks Board and the Art Center. I'm trying to figure that one out in terms of trying to see what we can do to save the Art Center. So that's been what I've been doing lately.
Thank you, Stephanie. I know these are really tough times all the way around, and I can't imagine what it's like to be a city council working with businesses and other entities that have shut down, and you know, it's just been like a drop, right, in economic income with income for the city, you know, from tourism and the whole 9 yards. So my hat's off to you in terms of the stress that you all must be feeling about that, and where the unknowns of where we're going next. I do have a question regarding, I didn't even look at the outcome of the vote that we had regarding city administrator versus manager. What was the outcome of that, and what are the current circumstances around city manager administrator?
The city administrator will continue on an interim basis, and there will be a search and a definition of what the role of city manager will be.
So that was basically voted in, that it would be become a city manager.
Well, the city administrator will be able to, if he chooses, apply for that position. But what the process will be for selecting a new city manager will be developed by staff and then looked at by the council. I talked about at the meeting last night, trying to be inclusive in terms of the community and in terms of looking at the different stakeholder groups and being sure that we were representing everyone and that people felt comfortable with that decision in terms of felt like their voices were being heard from the different parts of our community.
So Kelly moved on, is that right? And Adam is...
Kelly has moved on. She went back to being an assistant administrator in Medford. And then Adam has been the interim administrative director since that. And then there was a vote by the citizens that, for a city manager position as opposed to a city administrator. And generally there are some different responsibilities for a city manager than there are for a city administrator, especially in terms of hiring department heads and hiring staff. So, and the mayor's role changes with that as well. And to some degree, so does the council's. So developing an actual job description for the city manager is the other part of what we're going to be working on.
Okay, great. Thank you so much, Stephanie. Are there any last minute questions for Stephanie? I don't see any hands up, so we're going to move on. Thanks so much for coming on, Stephanie. It's great to hear your voice and see your smiling face, even in the face
Thank
of
you.
what we're up against right now. All right, so we're going on to old business right now, and the first one is Commission Monthly column. In the sneak preview, future articles is on the discussion. Did Stu, I don't see anything listed up there. Did we have anything that was formal at that point for the next article?
No, we didn't really. I did one as staff, I think in March or April. But then Curtis stopped asking for articles. I think they've scaled back their operation in some sense. So we probably need to explore with him whether or not he wants to keep providing that free space or not, for one thing. And then I think there's also perhaps a question to go about whether you want that to be the primary outlet or not. You know, there's a nice commission webpage that you can build on. And Elizabeth has done a fantastic job of getting all the old stuff onto that commission webpage. So, you know, you can discuss amongst yourselves what you would like the future of that to be. But before you do, I think part of what we're hoping to talk about later in the meeting is what kind of stuff do you want to keep working on? So if you want to postpone that until that discussion, that would make sense as well. And just for time check, it's about 15 minutes behind schedule right now.
Yeah, I got that. Thank you. Okay, Stu. I think it is a good idea to discuss future articles, and if we don't have time today, we were given it 15 minutes. I'm sorry, 15 minutes. So if that doesn't happen this time, we can move that to the next agenda as well. Because that I think the discussion about what we're currently working on and what we want to do next year is a good precursor to that. So let's move forward to the next topic, which is the new meeting time and discussion, date discussion. Apparently some people have put together preferred dates and times for from the February meeting. I wasn't there, so it was like the fourth Wednesday, the fourth Monday from 3 to 5 p.m., 5:30 to 7:30 p.m., or 6 to 8 p.m. So what I want to do is open up the discussion, and I'll go in reverse order this time. And Jamie, do you have any comments you'd like to make to that? If you're there, you're on.
You know, can you come to me last, please?
Okay, I will.
Actually,
yeah. No problem. I'll come back to you, okay? She's muted. So Marty, let's move to you. You're muted. You can unmute yourself, Marty. There you go.
Okay. Did you want to take a question from Rebecca first?
I was going in reverse order of my of my videos. Yeah, Rebecca, go ahead.
Yes, sorry, I just have a question. After the February meeting, a doodle poll was sent out for everyone to vote on remotely. And I was just wondering if that would help the discussion here, because a lot of the research on everyone's preferred time has been done through that doodle poll. So I was just wondering if Elizabeth had the results of that doodle poll, because otherwise I feel we're repeating ourselves from the last few meetings.
Unfortunately, that link expires after a certain amount of time, and since we didn't meet again, it expired. So if you guys want me to put this on the next one and send another one out, that's fine.
Risa?
You're on mute.
That makes the most sense because there are people that are not at this meeting. We can come up with what we agree on, but if we haven't included the other members, then we're kind of missing the boat. So I guess I'm suggesting that Elizabeth redoodle us.
Okay, so basically the recommendation, anybody else have any thoughts about this? I like that idea because if we have a bigger, at least we do a doodle poll where people are going to at least vote on what they want. We can have that as a more substantive input to the next meeting. All right, so I don't hear any dissent on that. So let's move forward with that. So Elizabeth, are you willing to put that poll back out and ask for a time to be able to respond to it in time? Yes, do.
Looks like Steph was going to add something here.
Okay, thank you.
I just wanted you to know that I have my senior advisory meeting with the parks is that Monday. So I have another commitment, another commission that I'm on that Monday.
So I think it would, I don't know if this is appropriate, but it seems like, Stephanie, if you're going to be part of that commission, I mean, if you're going to be a liaison for this commission, that you ought to be included in that. And I think you can make comments in there as well. That would be helpful. Okay, great. And so Elizabeth, are you able to include Stephanie in that as well?
Yeah, she's on the email list. She'll get everything. And
okay.
It will just be for you guys to list your availability and then talk about it at the next meeting. So.
All right, very good. Are there any other comments?
I could make one last comment on that, which is that in the past, these commission meetings have been highly constrained by meeting room availability. Clearly, that's not the case anymore, at least as long as we're online. So, I think it's good to pick a time that we can live with for the indefinite future, but just know that we have a lot more options now.
Yeah, yeah, for the indefinite future, for sure. All right, so let's move that to the next agenda. We'll get the Elizabeth, you can get the link out, and we'll make sure that people respond to that. All right, let's move on. I think we're ahead of time now. We're ahead of schedule a little bit anyway. So new business. What we're going to do is this is the decision discussion, commission and subcommittee work planning. And we're going to spend about 45 minutes on this, and we're going to answer the following questions. What were you currently working on? What do you want to work on for the next fiscal year? And what collaborations with the Climate Policy Commission need to be addressed? Interest in joint meetings with the CPC in August is a question mark. August may be a little bit beyond my opinion, our expectations, maybe October, November, but something that we can maybe get together. So yes, Stu.
Well, I don't want to interrupt your thought process there, but I was gonna maybe see if Bex wanted to start this conversation off, since she has the the new hat to wear at the next meeting. But I don't know. I suppose we should hear from everybody.
Bex, why don't you take the lead on this one, and why don't you go ahead and take the lead and wrap up the meeting, because this will be a good time for you to just join right in and start your process. Okay? I give my hat over to you.
Thanks, James. I was kind of learning the process from you, so I'll have to wing it for the rest of the meeting then. So yeah, I really, I have a few thoughts in terms of these questions. What are we working on? What do you want to work on for the next year? And then where our collaborations are. And I do see them wider than the Climate and Policy Commission as well, although I think it's really important we make some strong strong links there. It's probably good in terms of that first question, just to have a quick recap of where we were at, because it has been 6 months, just in terms of where our focus was. But I do think we then need to think about the future in terms of what we do want to focus on. The world has changed. I think we need to think about implementation and delivery of Ashland's climate energy action plan. And also we've got a major economic recovery and rebuilding Ashland. I mean, for me, sustainability should be thought of right at the beginning of that process. So there's some of the things that I do want to cover on what we work on for the next year. But it would be good in terms of what we were working on, because I know we had a couple of active subcommittees. So if we went round, I can't remember who was leading each subcommittee apart from the one that I was on, but if we went round and just had a quick recap about what they were working on, that would be good. Does anyone want to kick off?
So there were 4 subcommittees. The first, Marisa raised her hand, so I'll do her first.
I was just going to list the things that I was involved with. It was the intermittent water subcommittee dealing with rainwater catchment, laundry to landscape, clean water stuff. That was one. The other one was, it wasn't official, but just working on supporting electrification of saying goodbye to I can't think of what it's called. You know, twin engine. What's a dual?
Two cycle.
Thank you. That was a little project. Rogue to Go was a project, and then we were our subcommittee. I forget what we were called, but we were looking at elimination of single-use materials. I think that's it for me.
Okay. So that covers projects and subcommittees. Were there any other projects that were being progressed or subcommittees that we should add to that list? There was the presentation that Marion had been working on in terms of awareness within the community on climate change.
Yeah, she had put together the household action card, as well as some of the basic climate plan intro slides. And her citizen group is still carrying that a little bit forward. So, but yeah, they worked on that. I think that was the slides and the card, I think, were the last deliverables from that group. I don't recall who else was on it.
Okay.
But the 4 groups we had in the past were water, waste prevention, air quality, and marketing and outreach. James, did you have?
Yeah, I have a question regarding the climate action card article that was due to be published in February. I wasn't at the meeting and wonder if that was discussed and whether that article was written and approved.
Yep, it went out. There was a back and front print of the actual card in the paper as well.
So it went into the sneak preview as well?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, all right. So, all right, I was just curious about that, how it had played out. There was no action taken on part of any of the landscaping, electrical landscaping stuff, that the air quality stuff we were working on. So I have nothing to report on that.
Okay, so that's a list of the subcommittees and projects. So I guess one thing we could think about as a committee is whether they're the right subcommittees now where we're at. They've carried on for quite a while from what I understand. And also since then, we've also had the new climate energy action plan, and we've also got major economic recovery issues to think about in line with climate and sustainability. So I guess one is how we take forward the projects or where those projects are, or if we want to sort of realign the subcommittees. Has anyone, I know on a personal level, Risa and I have had many chats about, you know, what does COVID-19 mean for sustainability and climate change? And when Stu and I have met, we've also had these discussions. I don't know if we want to maybe just go round and have a think about what everyone's thoughts are in terms of this commission and what we could now bring to the table, working with other commissions in terms of where City of Ashland is. Shall we go around? Have you got your hand up, Brian?
I'd like there to be consideration of maybe a subcommittee that would meet with members of the CPC on a regular basis, like have a subcommittee that had members from this commission and that commission that would meet regularly. I mean, we've been talking about getting together with them since their creation. And as far as I know, the only interaction has been maybe one meeting between the chairs. I may be wrong on that, but I think it would be important to have kind of a regular intercourse with them.
Does anyone else have some thoughts on that?
Risa?
I was curious whether the latest thing, Rebecca, that we had written up that we were going to share with the commission, but I don't think that it happened. I think we sent it to Stu. I'm not sure where it went, but it could be relevant for this discussion, but I am asking the question from either of you if you know.
I think it's relevant because it's something, yeah, that both you and I were thinking in terms of how we link into other groups, how we participate, our accountability, what our role is. So it's the commission. The world's changed. We need to make sure we're fit for purpose in terms of our outcomes and what we're delivering. James? Oh, you're on mute.
In light of the fact that we're in this place that's very tenuous with COVID, with the unknownness of the downturn, the duration of the downturn of this economic fallout, especially from tourism, especially from one of our biggest tourism attractions, which happens to be Shakespeare, there's huge opportunity and issue obviously with businesses and the way we've done business in the past. I'm in reading that article that Luis sent the link to, it really did get me in tune with the city of Ashland and what help businesses might be able to garner from our input, both the CPC and our input on the climate and climate change, the Conservation Climate Change Commission, to be able to build a plan for business in town. Like for instance, I know I've been part of this grant request on a private perspective from tourism from the city of Ashland. And part of our request is to begin to make more charging stations available and transportation into downtown available, so that people can be brought into downtown, but the downtown could become more of a cultural center that's freer of vehicular traffic and attracts a different kind of tourism that's outdoors and all of that. So it's just got me to thinking that it might be really a ripe time for us as a commission to start thinking about how we might interface with businesses with our kind of educational process around climate and energy and reducing greenhouse gas emissions, but to take it from a tact of helping the economic benefit of businesses within town to be able to come together, saving greenhouse gas emissions, as well as bringing new kind of tourism in. So anyway, I'm just kind of formulating that thought right now.
Stephanie?
You're muted, Stephanie.
Okay. I'm working with the chamber as a liaison there as well. And one of the big works that they're doing is looking at alternative what reasons that people come to town. They're finding more people are driving to town as opposed to flying here, and a younger population is coming here more often, a lot with mountain biking and trying to create more opportunities for that. So working with trails, working with trying to coordinate all of that, that would be another important change that at least the business community sees is, and if you look around town, you see a lot more people riding bikes now. So that's a really different and I think potentially very positive trend that we're seeing.
Can I just, before going to James, Stu, could you unmute Jamie? She's just texted me saying she's been trying to ask you to unmute.
Thanks, Rebecca. I'm good now.
Oh. Sorry, we came to you too late, Jamie. Apologies.
That's okay. Better late than never.
Yeah. James, did you have your hand up?
No, I was just kind of adjusting my light.
Oh, okay. I was just, Stephanie, on what you were saying, and in terms of the economy, building a more resilient economy spread across and capitalizing on things declare it now. If I'm not in this office, I'm usually mountain biking. So yeah, absolutely. This is one precious place that you could build a lot of business around in terms of mountain biking. I agree. So in terms of some of the things that have been said of where we should go with reducing greenhouse gas emissions, and James, you made this link in terms of the transport. So something I keep coming back to, and I've had these conversations with Stu and Risa as well. So we have a really strong climate energy action plan, and that policy is developed by another commission, and is our role as an outreach commission to go and implement those policies on the ground, understand how they, work with the community to understand how they can work in practice. So I look at the consumption part of the climate energy action plan and see a real role for the elimination of single use in terms of our consumption patterns in Ashland, or I might look at the transport aspirations around greenhouse gas emissions and think of a project or a work there. So I would see us trying to, in terms of sharing that vision for Ashland, we have a really strong climate energy and action plan that we could look to influence how we take a project and how we implement it on the ground to make it work for Ashland with the experience in this group. Are there any thoughts on that? Risa?
Well, I just feel like it's kind of what I agree with what you're saying, and I don't really know where it fits in the context of this meeting, but part of what you and I had been talking about and that we had been writing about is, hey, one of the gifts of COVID is the pause that it has offered us, and it's given us an opportunity, all of us in every aspect of our life, to really look at the direction that we're going, and rather than trying to make things be the way they are, the way they were this is our opportunity to really assess the paths that we're on. Does it make sense? The makeup of the city's commissions, the way that they function. We don't really have a voice about the other commissions. We do have a voice about our participation on this commission in particular, and how we relate, like James was suggesting, more of an interconnectedness with the Climate Policy Commission. And from, you know, what we've talked about, not as a commission, is that going forward, more integration and more cohesion, and with a collective effort of all of us to help to support and move forward the Climate Energy Action Plan. And we can't really get there unless we figure out a more effective way to work together toward the goals.
Okay.
I'm not sure if Jamie has her hand up or not.
I do. Can you hear me?
Yep.
Awesome. Okay, it says I'm still muted, but I guess I'm not. So, you guys can hear me?
Yep.
Yep.
Okay. Sorry, I won't ask again. Are you sure you can hear me? No, just kidding. I'm just kidding. Hey, so I just wanted to echo a little bit of what the essence of what Risa was saying, you know, with this, you know, pandemic that we're in. It's weird to say that, but yes, it is that. You know, we've been kind of forced to slow down and be more conscious. We've had to be more conscious. We've been forced in some cases to be more conscious of the things that we do. And with that, I would hope that we can also be more courageous. If, you know, if it's true that when COVID hit, that air quality numbers improved drastically, then maybe there's some wisdom in not everybody driving their cars all the time. And maybe additionally, you know, to bring it really close to home, maybe we don't all need to drive our cars to a Conservation Commission meeting. You know, maybe we're all more productive and present and conscious and courageous when we're paying attention in the way that we are right this very moment. So I think that as far as the direction on what I would like to work towards in the next year is let's embrace the virtual outreach that we're all being forced to maintain if we want to have any kind of connection with the world, and use it. And in our spare time, let's do a lot more of being out in the world like I am right now, as you probably just heard that car go by. So I would like us to focus on virtual outreach. I feel that that is a win-win either way. Even if we are all able to hold hands at a Conservation Commission meeting, I think that it's still valuable for people who can't attend the meeting to say, oh yeah, we were talking about that subject, and oh, there's a link about that, and we did that. I don't know, fill in the blanks. You guys get the idea. That's my 2 cents on the issue.
Okay, thanks. Thanks, Jamie. I guess to add to that, we are going to have to change the way we do things, but I guess in terms of that outreach, like what should be our focus here? Like we have groups meeting in terms of economic rebuild. We have already areas being discussed to build a more resilient economy in Ashland. So rather than separate projects, you know, we've got all these strategies in place. We've got these groups existing. How do we show to consider the greenhouse gas emissions and sustainability options right at the beginning. Like Risa says, hit the pause button. You know, we can change the way we do things. We need to look, the overarching goal in terms of sustainability and climate change hasn't changed, but how we get there has definitely changed, because COVID-19 has shone the spotlight on that in terms of communication with people, how people look at what they value, the role sustainability is going to play in the future. And I just think I guess my thing is, for success, building back a better Ashland, to put, rather than treat climate outreach or as separate projects, we need to be right in the heart of this Build Back Better. We need to be thinking about it from the beginning. We need to understand where the other motivations are and be part of those discussions, and then take the ones that we as a commission are responsible for and help implement that on the ground, and show our worth here. If I'm completely honest, and I know I've said this to a couple of you, I was absolutely gutted that we could survive without a meeting for 6 months during the pandemic. The meetings that I've been going to at SOU, they couldn't, you know, some of them couldn't survive without 6 months of meeting, because we wouldn't be functioning. And we definitely have our challenges, but we wouldn't be functioning. So my challenge is, how do we make it that if a pandemic hits, we are essential to carrying on? We are there meeting every month, and it's not seen as something that can just be put aside for 6 months. That's what I'd like to see the commission being part of. Are there any thoughts on that? Okay. Silent, met by silence. James.
This runs in line with what I was talking about before, which is about how we interface with the things that are probably the biggest challenges for us as a society here in Ashland, which is that we've been limited with what we can do. And personally, I've seen, I honestly, I used to look at the streets of Ashland and see no cars on them. I'd think, wow, this is a good thing. Only thing we need is bicycles. The only thing we need is to have the kind of economy that depends on things that actually supplement the economy, but reduce greenhouse gas emissions. And I think what you're saying, Becca, is moving toward this new way of looking at things. We have an opportunity, and Risa, I think you alluded to that as well. We have an opportunity here during this pause to open ourselves up to stepping in differently with our community than we have thought of in the past. And we have a climate and energy action plan in place, and there are all kinds of standards and tasks and goals that we have associated with that. How do we take each one of those and frame it in the current context and ask ourselves, how can we help bolster that and the economy at the same time? Because as Al Gore said, you know, the technology is there, all we need is the will to do it. And this might be the turning point for us to have the will to do it. And that downtown concept of closing off just a little bit of the plaza was, to me, a step in the direction where I thought it would bring people out and bring people into the city and see the city from a different perspective. It's like the grant we're requesting from the city, from the tourism side of things, the grant side of tourism, is to bring people in as eco-tourists. So this is our opportunity to step in. I think maybe we with the CPC could collaborate on developing how we could do outreach, because that's our job, and how the CPC could develop policy that would help those businesses that really see a value of doing this, of bringing in ecotourism, and helping those the other businesses who that see that this is a negative thing that we're doing because cars can't drive up and pick up their goods to go. to find a way that we can all grow and develop and collaborate through this process. And I think, Stephanie, you're bringing that forward with the city council and your interface as well. So I'd be interested, Stephanie, in hearing from you about, you know, how the city, I know city council's not been maybe doing so well lately, but how could that mature for us? And how would we be operating in that environment?
I think that you really have an important role. People are learning they can do with less. And how to infuse, and I think it's happening, people that can work from home. We're seeing more and more. I think Bex has kind of alluded to that in some ways. We can stay connected in different ways. I think the council is seeing that. You look at businesses like even the co-op that's going to be offering delivery services. So looking at ways that an older population that maybe can't be the part of the population that can always drive, trying to find ways of satisfying that need. At the time, you're also pulling in new ways of, with the art world, for example, there's a lot of Zoom and ebooks now. I mean, there's a lot of change everywhere about how businesses and how art and how other things are going to need to be. You know, I see a lot of things that we could do with public art in terms of infusing that message, or the planning commission in terms of looking at that, or really having all of the commissions look at how they interface with each other. That's going to be important with budget too, is what are the most important things that you don't want to see go away? What's the most important priorities that you have for that budget process? And I think there's a lot that could be done with Zoom and that type of messaging as people become more familiar with it and comfortable with it. Any other questions or specifics?
Could I just ask one, Stephanie? Is the infrastructure of the commission meetings and how they interact with each other, is that being discussed at all at the moment? Because this is something Risa and I were discussing in terms of helping each other, supporting each other, looking at the synergies.
I think that's certainly, I'll be honest, I've mentioned that. I think that how we interconnect and how our commission connects to the policy commission, if that's how they're different or how they work together. How right now there's a whole resolution with Black Lives Matter and looking at the minority, the BIPOC population, and how they're impacted by environmental issues and health. There's a lot more connection with the Forest Lands Commission in terms of looking at how we're going to keep the forest safe and work with trails. I see a lot of ways that it will be more and more important to see what the goals as a city are and working together, as opposed to each commission feeling they're the most important. But how do we combine those goals so that we can look at what they are in terms of the budget priorities?
An idea I just had, looking at that question in terms of what do we want to work on for the next year. So one thing in terms of that, I keep saying is bringing in sustainability at the beginning. We need to build back better, but maybe in a way we also need to demonstrate our value of what we can can bring to this wider agenda. And this is just a suggestion, thinking off the top of my head, so please express your views on this. But before the next meeting, what we could all do is refresh ourselves around the Climate Energy Action Plan. I know that's due for an update, but just in terms of its general ambition, the general focus areas, you know, that is where City of Ashland is heading here. There's also discussions going on that COVID might have changed in terms of the economy, that we will have seen in the media and other areas, or just have a think in general. If there were 3 projects that we could take forward based on these sort of strategies and the changes that COVID-19 has brought, what 3 projects could, you know, could the commission work on? And not separate projects. So I'm not talking about, oh, let's campaign for this or change that. These have to be what part of other bigger projects for Ashland's economy could we bring as the Climate Outreach Commission to help implement on the ground. And that's just an idea. Are there any reactions to that? It would give us all a chance just to do some reading and reflect on this discussion. Risa, you're on mute. Oh, you know.
Yeah, I think that could be a good direction to explore. I liked it that you're just like, pick 3 things, you know, because it can be daunting to figure out where to begin. And I think it might help to narrow the way that we're thinking about things. So seems like that could be a good thing to bring forth for the next time when we meet next month.
Okay, and Jamie, just to check if you have your hand up. No. I don't think she's on mute. She hasn't messaged again. Okay, would everyone be happy to do that before the next meeting? Oh, Jamie's connecting to audio. Yeah, would everyone be happy to do that before the next meeting as an action for us? Okay, and in terms of there was a specific question around the Climate Policy Commission and a joint meeting. Where is everyone feeling on this?
Hey, this is Jamie. Can you hear me?
Yes, can hear you, Jamie.
Oh gosh, so I could hear you, but I don't know what was going on before. I didn't consciously have my hand up.
Okay.
But so I think, and what you just said, you cut out just a little bit for me. Did you say, what do we all think about having a joint meeting, the two commissions? Is that what you?
Yeah, that final question on this agenda item. What collaborations with the Policy Commission need to be addressed, and if there's interest in a joint meeting?
You know, in regards to that, I don't know what the value. There could certainly be value in a joint meeting. I'm almost wondering if something a little more informal might provide more value. Typically, people lighten up a little more in. You know, I don't know what that would look like in a COVID world, but a formal meeting, I don't know how much people would feel free to open up.
We could have a meet and greet on Zoom, Jamie.
Okay, so meet and greet on Zoom, like an informal one.
That's an idea. That starts building a relationship.
Yeah, that building the relationship piece is exactly what I'm hoping to achieve. I think if we just come to a formal meeting and everyone's formal and we have an agenda and blah, 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 go through all that, then we're not going to achieve the connection that we could. Whereas if it's just informal and we're all in our pajamas, I don't know, whatever, you know, we might be able to actually get to the heart of some issues a lot faster.
Okay.
I see Brian had his hand up and also Steph.
For me, I was thinking more, and again, I don't know how it would work in the COVID world with Zoom, but having more of an ongoing partnership with the other commission where a small group from this group and a small group from their group meet as kind of a joint subcommittee where we really then, and bring information back to each of our commissions where we really know what they're doing and they know what we're doing, and that kind of together we move forward to implement the climate action plan.
Okay. Are there any thoughts on that idea, Lisa?
I think that what Brian is suggesting is a good idea, and I think what Jamie is suggesting is a good idea. Because before you can, we don't know these people. We've never connected with these people. I never have. And so I think it would be worth our commission considering initially an informal and then looking at how it could be beneficial to create a regular way of connecting, communicating, supporting each other.
Mm-hmm. Stephanie, you had your hand up.
Yeah, I would also think that as we look at the climate energy action plan, one way of also looking at it is trying to get some sense of what we think should change in terms of either metrics or actions, or that's kind of something that I'm sure we're going to need, or we might want to need to discuss with the policy group, is having some input into that.
Okay. So the idea of the informal meet and greet, just to build that relationship, and then we could look at Brian's proposal and our role in helping develop and implement policy alongside the policy commission. Following that, would everyone be happy for an informal meet and greet and look at building that relationship and look at how we can complement each other in terms of our roles and what we achieve? How is this something that Stu, Elizabeth, can you help her? Is this something that I would propose, or could you propose to the commission?
Well, yeah, so I think there's no limits on having you have a meet and greet, but you won't be able to make any decisions, right? If you have the quorum in the room, it's got to be a publicly noticed meeting for either group. So just consider that in your planning. If it's just virtual cocktail hour, that's fine, but I think you'd want to have some structure to know what you're going to get out of it. Just my opinion.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. You know, would you like to, may I add a word about the two commissions and working together, if it's appropriate? So the evolution of the two commission system was a very long, drawn-out process. And those of you who are involved in that decision probably recall there was a lot of discussion about separation of workload. You know, the climate challenge is immense and nobody can do it on their own. So there's going to have to be a degree of separation in activity in order to be able to focus. And somehow Jamie keeps leaving the meeting, and I'm going to re-admit her here. So
sorry,
I guess that's no problem.
Sorry,
I guess a
Wi-Fi issue.
That's okay.
Yeah, I'm not actually leaving. I'm here still. I can hear you.
Yeah, sounds good. Sorry, I lost my train of thought. You know, the scope of work and the charter for each commission were designed very specifically to be distinct so that you didn't have to rely on the other commission. However, I do think it's important that there be some connection and some cross-pollination in there. And I also think that there should be some connection and cross-pollination with the other commissions, Transportation Commission, Planning Commission, all those other groups. So, you know, what the bond between the two climate commissions looks like is ultimately up to the two groups to determine. But I hope that, you know, the spirit of the charters is that one group develops the policy and takes it to council, and the other group tells the community about the policies and gets them to reduce emissions and save energy. So there's definitely room for interaction there. And it's going to be on the two of you two groups to figure out exactly how to make that efficient. And that's all I have to say. And Risa has her hand up.
So in light of what you just said, Stu, it makes even more sense to me to do an informal meet and greet, and to, after that happens, I mean, I also think that Brian's suggestion about figuring out, I mean, we need to hear from them all, you know, it's not like, well, whatever we want, that's what we're going to do. I mean, when you're working with other people, then it's important to hear where they're at and what's important to them. And it could be that we have an informal meet and greet and drop the idea of how we can become more effective together, because I know that the history of the Climate Policy Commission is short, and during that time, it's something for us to look forward to actually do outreach on something that they, a policy that they created, because I don't think that has happened yet.
I just, yeah, want to add in there, what would make me excited is about the outreach and implementation of City of Ashland and Ashland's wider community climate energy action plan, not outreach to help develop policies that aren't part of the discussion in this group, because we're not the policy commission. So where we can help influence that, at the same time, I do see us as quite a distinct role in terms of that outreach and the implementation side. But I do think that informal meet and greet and developing a relationship with any commission, and this one is really important to the success of any policy that's put on the table. Having worked in policy my whole career, previously in the Scottish Environment Protection Agency, developing policy with Scottish Government, the implementation of that policy was only successful if all the stakeholders were consulted on and brought everyone around the table in terms of that development of the policy. And then in terms of the implementation of this group, it's only going to be successful if that kind of consultation and outreach, just because we have our outreach in our name doesn't mean that policy commission isn't going to carry out outreach in terms of who they consult and how they consult in developing policy. And I think that's where we need to probably meet and build a relationship and understand how we can really work together and achieve great things. If we have that strong relationship, then we'll do much better, rather than having, and I know since we've been having these discussions since I've joined this commission, so I would be really keen to understand how we can work together and help each other in our missions. James.
Yeah, Becca, I like what you're saying, and in my experience with the Forest Service, when we tried to create policy, it took an educational process as well to even get the community involved in the city, like the city of Ashland. The city council, Steph, you can kind of account for this or not, but it's people that encourage also the city council to move forward with policy. The policy commission might come up with something that sounds really good, but then it can hit flat ears with the council because the community is not on board or even understanding it. So there's a synergy there that I'm not sure how it could play out, Stu, in terms of our charters, but it seems as though our role in reaching out to the community could also be in collaboration with the CPC in having an idea about what that means in terms of community involvement to bring that forward so that the city council actually gets that the community is really interested in that. And then of course their communication, the CPC communication and outreach is to the city council to, you know, try and get that pushed forward for a vote or whatever, you know, needs to happen. So I see there's a synergy there that if we can get together as two commissions to talk about some of those policies that have been talked about on the CPC, talk about how our commission could help go out to the community and help that community to understand the value of a policy like that or not. I don't know, this is just a thought of mine. You've been in that world, Bex, for a long time, but you know, you were working at a national level, we're working at a smaller community level. So just curious how that could play out.
I do think this probably needs, yeah, further discussion with the CPC, because I'm probably at the other end of the scale. I would say I wouldn't see this group as being tasked with doing all the community outreach and checking in with the community. I would want to see that being led by the policy commission if it's developing policy, and then if it's about implementation of that policy, we would be doing the outreach with the community to see how it could work. And I'm probably leaning towards the latter there in terms of how we would work, but I do think it needs more discussion with the policy commission. Otherwise I just see us as, oh, the Conservation and Climate Outreach Commission, they've consulted the community, but we're kind of a middle step then, and I think they should have a direct voice when it comes to policy development into the policy commission who are responsible for the policy development, because otherwise we're separating the community from those that are responsible for the policy. So I don't know, it definitely needs further consideration. Stephanie, did you have your hand up?
Maybe this is a controversial idea, I don't know, but you can't have a policy that can't be implemented. It's not practical to be implemented. I'm not sure, I totally don't think that there should be one commission. And what we're doing, that I see a need for more integration, and I'm not sure if we shouldn't look at whether this all should be one commission, and there are two different parts of it, especially looking at any changes in the policy, and the implementation commission is also really important in knowing what policy is implementable. Mm-hmm. So it's just another idea. I wonder what you think about whether or not the commissions, it really should be two different commissions.
Just a time check.
Oh yes.
Maybe that's just something to think about.
something to think about then. Okay, so just on agenda 8, I guess we have something all to bring back to our next Zoom meeting. And then the wrap up, we're on schedule, 7:55. Any other items that we've got a couple to be added to the future agenda that we've discussed throughout the meeting? Are there any other items to be added to the future agenda? And is there anything else that I should be doing at this stage?
Elizabeth.
Well, you're on mute, James.
Sorry, I had my trigger finger hit right at the same time as you.
Okay. If I understand correctly, Elizabeth has been taking notes about action items. Normally, I mean, in the past, we've assigned somebody to write down those action items. And it might be appropriate, if you have it, Elizabeth, to reiterate what those action items are for the next agenda that we've
So this
identified?
time I have been taking notes, but I just highlighted the stuff for the next meeting. I didn't take down specific, because and I would say, I mean, a good action item that came through was to review, for everyone to review SEEP and be prepared for the next meeting. So
we also have sending out a doodle poll for the meeting time.
Right, and that's just me. There's no follow-up on that, yeah. One thing I would mention, sorry Stu, I'm interrupting you, but
no, go ahead.
The talking about informal meeting, I think, I don't know if you guys want Stu to do that, or if Becca and Risa as chair and vice chair, you guys want to reach out to Tanya and Rick Barth, the vice chair, and see if they're interested, and we can start scheduling that.
I'd be happy to with Risa. Can you, I have Tanya's contact. Could you send me the other, was it Rick, their contact?
Mm-hmm. I can send you that, yeah.
That would be great. Yep, we can do that. And the one thing we didn't go back to discuss was the monthly column in the sneak preview. Could we carry that over as an agenda item?
Yes, I will put that on for the next agenda.
I don't know if it's something that you want to take on, Bex, but maybe if there's a meeting between the commission chairs, you could carry Steph's question about the combining or not combining, if that's appropriate. Or I guess it's up to you to decide how that goes. Brian has something else to add.
One thing I guess maybe for next meeting is, should we bat around ideas to forward to the mayor for the open seat on this commission? Or do you think we should wait till the next mayor, or what's the process for that?
The process is that any interested citizen applies at the recorder's office, and then it gets reviewed, and if the mayor likes them, they usually have an interview, and then it goes to council.
But does the general citizenry know there's an opening, or should we talk to people we know that might be good about it and encourage them to apply?
I don't see why not.
Okay.
I mean, you would be doing it as yourself. If the commission wants to nominate somebody to apply, you should talk about that at a meeting.
It would be good to have, just think in terms of diversity of backgrounds. That always brings more to the table, just in terms of thinking about that, of who, if we encourage anyone to apply. I've worked in sustainability and the environment my whole career. If there's someone that comes at it from a different angle, that's always good. Just an additional thought there.
Yeah, there's the list of commission members and all the vacancies is on the commission page. So you can always check and see how many slots are open. And I guess I see your hand, Risa. The other thing is the charter is on that page. It might be nice to review that as you go through the climate plan web pages as well, just to see, you know, how do you think that you can most make the charter be fulfilled? All right, Risa, and then almost time.
I just want, I've been in email contact with Marion Moore, and there is a possibility that she would be interested in returning. She's dealing with some very serious health issues, but she was feeling kind of hopeful. So I'm not really sure. I just wanted y'all to know about that.
Mm-hmm.
That's all. Thanks.
Thanks, Risa. Okay, so in terms of my role here, do I formally close the meeting? Is that what happens?
When you're ready.
Okay, this meeting is, well, it was good to see you all on Zoom, and this meeting is now closed.
Thanks,
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
Elizabeth, I'll make you the host again.
Perfect. I will get the recording. So, maybe.
Hey, Stu, can I show you something on Zoom while you're there? Or is that against the law?
Well, there's